Nova Scotia. This is no place to litter. We have seen an increased interest from our residents concerning litter on our roads, in our parks, and on our beaches. This is amazing, and we want our residents to know that we are here to help and support them to continue ensuring our region stays beautiful and clean. Litter is not only unpleasant to look at, it can be harmful to people, animals, as well as our environment. It can be life threatening for wildlife and cause serious damage to our oceans and waterways. It is an irresponsible form of preventable pollution, and protecting the environment from litter requires significant resources. Litter is simply waste in the wrong place. Our reaction to litter is often anger, sadness, and disappointment. Our first reaction is to blame people for intentionally placing litter there and not caring. However, when viewing litter, we do have to consider the source. While a lot of the litter we collect may be seen as intentional, this may not always be the case. Sources of litter can be unintentional, intentional, a source of illegal dumping, as well as ocean and beach litter. We will look at some facts and information that were released from a roadside litter audit conducted by Divert Nova Scotia in 2021. There is a lot of information on litter and the types and sources of litter, but we need to understand the impact that it has on our environment. Looking at intentional litter, sometimes we have to ask ourselves, did someone place that litter there on purpose, or did it happen by accident, with or without the person's knowledge? Unintentional litter may come from uncovered loads on trucks or other vehicles. It may have fallen out of a car unnoticed. Wildlife may have torn open bags that were put out for collection. It may be items that have fallen out of a person's pocket accidentally. Can you think of a time that you may have littered unintentionally? Sometimes, even those with the best of intentions can create unintentional litter. The key to reducing unintentional litter is simply conscious effort. Taking the time to secure a load so nothing flies off. Securing our curbside garbage for collection so that wildlife doesn't tear it open. Finding a bin for garbage rather than leaving it in our pockets where it can accidentally fall out. Keeping a container or a bag in our vehicle to secure garbage so that it doesn't fly out of the car accidentally. Not everyone intends to litter. However, awareness of the issue of an unintentional litter is key to reducing this type of litter. Intentional litter is the opposite of unintentional litter. This is where a person makes a conscious decision to throw away their garbage on the ground rather than to dispose of it properly. We see this every day. Intentional litter comes from different sources and different people. It can be someone driving down the road or a highway who throws their fast food containers out of the window rather than wait and dispose of it properly. It can be a child who carries a candy wrapper and doesn't know what to do with it, so they just let it drop as they walk. It could be a cigarette butt left behind on the ground. Illegal dumping is a form of litter that causes unintentional litter to spread in our communities. WasteCheck's bylaw officer takes reports of and investigates many complaints, including complaints of illegal dumping in our region. Our region is designated as the Town and Municipality of Digby, Town and Municipality of Yarmouth, Municipality of Clare, Municipality of Argyll. For the purpose of defining what illegal dumping is, I turn to the bylaw on illegal dumping for the municipality of the District of Yarmouth. However, please contact your municipality for their specific bylaws on illegal dumping. Illegal dumping 5.4.1. Except for the placement of solid waste for collection in accordance with this bylaw, no person shall deposit, cause to be deposited, or permit to be deposited solid waste at any place in the municipality other than at an approved solid waste management facility designated for the applicable type of solid waste, or at any other site authorized by the municipality or approved for by the purpose by the minister. 5.4.2. No person shall place solid waste for collection on a property other than a property owned or occupied by that person, or in respect of which the person has obtained the consent of the owner or occupier for that purpose. This intentional act of illegally dumping waste can become a source of litter which scatters beyond the original area and has a lasting negative impact on the immediate area. WasteCheck's bylaw officer has investigated a total of 690 cases of illegal dumping in our region in the past 5 years. Often, by the time a site has been reported, garbage has already begun to scatter away from the area. Bags are torn open by animals. The wind has blown lighter items out of the dump site towards the shores and into the ocean. Some items which are dumped, such as paints, used oils, household cleaners, etc., can leach chemicals into the ground and into waterways, putting animals, plant life, and marine life at risk. In Nova Scotia, anywhere in the province is 50 kilometers from an ocean or a waterway, and almost 100% of litter within 50 kilometers of the water will end up in the ocean as winds and wildlife carry it away from where it originally was. There are two main sources of litter found on our beaches, shores, and in our waters. Looking at data from beach cleanups, it is interesting that of the top 10 items, 5 of them can be attributed to the fishing industry, and 5 of them can be attributed to intentional or unintentional litter. When it comes to our beaches and oceans, thanks to groups such as Nova Scotia Beach Garbage Awareness and Scotian Shores, we are starting to be able to see just how much litter is ending up on our beaches, in our oceans, and whether it comes from land-based litter, the fishing industry, or other sources. Nova Scotia Beach Garbage Awareness Group has collected, counted, or weighed each item of garbage picked up off the shores between Harbourville, Nova Scotia, and Baxter's Harbour, Nova Scotia, in Kings County for the past 3.5 years. Some of the litter that has been collected on our beaches and from our oceans come from the fishing industry and ghost gear. So, ghost gear can be abandoned, discarded, or lost. Abandoned ghost gear is gear or items that are not retrieved from the sea on purpose. Discarded ghost gear are items that are discarded overboard on purpose, and lost ghost gear are items that are accidentally lost at sea. The top 5 beach litter items from the fishing industry by count collected in 2022 by the Scotia Beach Awareness Group would be lobster rubber bands, packing straps, lobster trap tags, lobster trap escape hatches, and bait bags. The top item that was collected by weight was fishing rope. The top 5 items by count collected that could be attributed to land litter or other sources would be bottle caps and covers, shotgun shells and tampon applicators, plastic containers, straws, and miscellaneous items. The top items by weight posted were tar, styrofoam, plastic, and non-plastic garbage. Nova Scotia Beach Garbage Awareness Group and Scotian Shores are always posting interesting information on their cleanups with updated weights and counts. Visit and like their Facebook pages for more information on the litter they are removing from our beaches. Divert Nova Scotia retained Dillon Consulting Limited to conduct a roadside litter audit throughout Nova Scotia. The audit took place from June 14th to July 15th, 2021, and included 75 pre-selected locations across the province. The sites were audited to provide a snapshot assessment of the composition of the accumulated litter present on the roadsides of Nova Scotia. Types of litter were classified into 2 categories: large and small. Large was equal to or larger than 25 centimeters, and small was smaller than 25 square centimeters. The roadside litter audit had 75 sites which were audited in 55 different locations across the province. A total of 2,844 large litter items, which were the size equal to or greater than 25 square centimeters, were collected. Miscellaneous plastic, paper, snack wrappers, single-use hot and cold cups, including lids or parts of lids, papers, fibers, food wrappers, and other beverage containers accounted for 78% of all large litter collected during the audit. A total of 4,840 small litter items were collected. Small litter, again, was less than 25 square centimeters in size. The following items accounted for 86% of small litter collected: cigarette butts and debris, paper, plastic film, other materials, and chewing gum. When comparing the 2021 audit to an audit previously conducted in 2008, we see a decrease in the snack food related items as well as tobacco items and miscellaneous items. There was an increase, however, in categories such as quick service items. 25% of the large litter items had an identifiable brand such as Tim Hortons, McDonald's, Anheuser-Busch, PepsiCo, and Nestle. To read the whole report and view more information on this audit, please visit divertns.ca/litter. Litter has many impacts. Litter has a social impact. When litter is allowed to accumulate, it can create many safety hazards, such as a fire hazard. It can also attract unwanted and unwelcome rodents and insects. Studies have shown that when litter already exists in an area, that people are more than likely to continue to litter in that same area. In areas where litter exists, people perceive that the area as having a higher crime rate than an area that has been maintained and has had the litter removed. Researchers are also finding that there is a link between litter and crime. In residential areas, litter has been actually found to decrease the property values, and in commercial areas, litter could potentially reduce customer and sales. We're all aware of the impact of the litter on our oceans and marine life. Marine plastic litter enters the marine environment as a result of a wide range of land and sea based activities. Both macroplastics, for example, large plastic items such as plastic bags, water bottles, and fishing gear, and microplastics, small plastic particles, generally 5 millimeters or less in size, persist in the marine environment and result in harmful effects on marine life and biodiversity, as well as a negative impact on human health. In addition, marine plastic litter negatively impacts on activities such as tourism, fishing, and shipping. The en- in addition to the environmental and health problems posed by marine litter, floating garbage and plastic pose a costly as well as dangerous problem for shipping, as they can be navigational hazards and become entangled in propellers and rudders. Another problem requiring urgent remedial action is the massive accumulation of plastics, not only in coastal areas but also in the deep sea. This litter is harmful to marine life. Sea creatures can become entrapped in containers or strangled by nets or ropes, and microplastics can also enter the food chain as they are indigestible when swallowed. Once plastics in litter is ingested, the fish or mammal is at risk of death, most often due to starvation. As they ingest litter and plastics, they feel full and stop eating and eventually die. Microplastics are tiny pieces of plastics or fibers increasingly found in the oceans. They can result from fragmentation of larger plastic items, especially when exposed to sunlight. Microplastics have been found distributed through the world's oceans, on shorelines, in surface waters, and seabed sediments, from the Arctic to the Antarctic. They may accumulate at remote locations such as mid ocean gyres, as well as close to population centers and shipping routes. Land animals are also impacted by littering. Poisoning from spoiled food wrappers and containers that can be ingested or contaminated. Water that is contaminated has been consumed. These instances can lead to sickness, internal health problems, or even death for the unlucky animals that find themselves confronted with human garbage. Throwing food or litter from a car on a highway or on a busy road can also attract wildlife and lead them to be seriously injured or killed when trying to retrieve an item that's been thrown to the roadside. Fire hazards are another major concern to animal habitat. Paper and plastics tend to be extremely flammable and will easily ignite, causing a fire. Littering cigarette butts is another major concern for fires, as they can also leach arsenic into the soil or water, potentially causing poisoning and illness in small animals. When we see a farmer's field, we don't think of the impact of litter on agriculture. Litter is a massive problem for agriculture. The effects of litter on agricultural land, waterways, and the atmosphere are disastrous. Litter can smother crops or choke animals that it comes across in streams. It affects are especially devastating for plants who have to contend with all sorts of trash like broken pieces of glass or discarded plastic bags, which can suffocate their roots or pile up around them until they're choked out by debris rather than let nature take its course as intended. Litter is a big problem for the agricultural industry. It can lead to a reduced crop yield, increased cost of production, and lower profits due to its negative impact on water quality and crop plant, which all put farmers at risk financially. So, when it comes to keeping our environment litter free, each and every one of us has the chance to be an everyday hero. Collecting litter while walking on the beach is not only good for the body and soul, it's good for our beaches and oceans. Cleaning litter while walking the dog is good for the dog and incredibly scenic walking paths. Collecting a bag of garbage while out at the park playing with the kids teaches them to be good stewards of the environment. If you're interested in registering a cleanup, you can do so through the Great Nova Scotia Pick Me Up at nspickmeup.ca. WasteCheck, as a local distributor for the Great Nova Scotia Pick Me Up, will provide you with our very fashionable litter kit containing bags, gloves, and data card to report the information about your litter pickup. And this is all free of charge. If you have any questions or comments, or if you want more information, please don't hesitate to contact WasteCheck, info@wastecheck.ca, or visit our website at www.wastecheck.ca, or call our office at 902 742 1312.